Hey guys, welcome to Politically Provoked, an interactive podcast where we host debates, panels, and interviews. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell to keep up to date with all our future debates and panels. We are primarily on YouTube, but you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Discord, BitChute, and TikTok. All the information is in the banner below. We also have a link tree you can find in the description, or you can just type Politically Provoked and we should pop right up. Politically Provoked is a neutral ground where people from across the political spectrum can either duke it out in a debate or just have a casual discussion in one of our panels. Either way, we try to represent both left and right-wing views on every episode. I'm your left-wing host, Brittany, and this is your right-wing host, Todd. How are you, Todd?
I'm doing great, Brittany. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. All right, so it is debate night. Tonight, we are going to be debating the ethics and religion, or the difference between ethics and religion. I'll let the debaters explain it a little bit more. So first up, let's introduce Pedro. How are you, Pedro?
I'm doing so good. It feels like fight night. Let's go.
Fight night, yeah. So
I'm ready to rumble.
If you want to introduce yourself, tell people where you lie on the political spectrum and where people can find you.
Yeah, like Brittany said, everybody, I'm just a regular guy. My name's Pedro. I'm Christian. I eat just like you. I have to sleep, and I'm just waking up here today in order to defend my country, America, and Americanism, but even foremost, Christianity as it stands in the public arena.
All right, thank you. And now, for the first time debating with us is Dylan. How are you, Dylan?
Good. How are you? How are you,
Good.
Brittany?
Yeah, so same question. If you want to introduce yourself, let people know where you lie on the political spectrum and where people can find you.
I'm Dylan. I'm an atheist. I'm a socialist. I'm all of the scary things, we're pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum. That's why we're here debating tonight. And you can find me on Instagram. You can at Dylan Blay _. You can find me on Spotify at Dylan Blay. Just my name. It's my stage name,
And I did put both of their descriptions, or where you can find them in the description, so you guys can get that there too. All right, so we did agree on a different format than we normally do. So we are going to start out with opening statements, which Pedro would go first for 1 to 5 minutes, and then Dylan, and then cross-examination will be 1 to 6 minutes, and also, I guess Dylan's going to be going first for that one, and then Pedro, and then we will open up the floor. So I don't think we really need to pull up the rules, personal attacks and no constant interruptions. But I think with the format, we should be okay. So if you guys want to start with opening statements, and Dylan, I guess you go first.
Oh no, I think I go first. You got the order.
Yeah. Pedro.
Yeah, the order is.
It would have been easier if you told me as a Pedro, and so he wrote it as American and Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
We did the format. All right, go on, you American.
All right, don't worry. I got us, guys. All right, so I'll just start off with the opening statement. So here we go. All right, so Americanism is simply the setting up of an arena, the public square, where the truth is able to come to light without fear of persecution. This practice is born and fleshed out in the defining of American culture. Now, culture can best be defined as a lens through which a nation's people are seen, see themselves and the world around them, and form their nature. That lens, in this case, when asking about American culture, is made up of the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, which acknowledge specific pre-existing attributes man has available to him in his or her pursuit to happiness. Pretty much the antithesis to my opponent concerning this and his worldviews, and pretty much the constitutional makeup of his country. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, why we do have a show for you tonight. I'm a little bit confused, and let me set the stage and see if you can see why. In one corner, there's me, first and foremost, the Christian whose faith can be found in all of the Bible and the Bible alone, allowing me to know who my Creator is, what He's done for me, and who I am before Him, and as a result, giving me meaning, purpose, and value to my life. And second, the American citizen, who has read and studied, not all, but more than the average bear, the people who have fought, suffered, and died for the ideals, opportunity, and liberties this country holds. And then there's Dylan, a self-proclaimed atheist nihilist who subscribes to the naturalistic, materialistic worldview. A civilian to a country whose government is taking a man's daughter from him to give her hormone therapy and puberty blockers and jailing him at the same time. They're pretty much prosecuting God's church via the means of throwing some of our pastors in jail right now and then locking down some of our churches like it was a siege of Mordor. And on top of it all, they are releasing violent sex offenders into the community with warnings say they may commit it again. If you haven't guessed it already, we're talking to a Canadian. Where we get off is this is the cultist that the left has deemed necessary to teach me, scrutinize me, inform me about the relationships between the church and state and of all things ethics tonight. Interesting, as you can already see, is an understatement in this situation. But then I remember what the good Reverend would say. Why we are on this particular mission, we will never know. But I do know, just like that the day that tomb was found empty in Israel, it will be another victory for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, today. Now, just a warning to our viewers, this is not a final battle between Darth Vader and Luke. It's not me fighting the Balrog with Gandalf as I'd like this to be. This is going to be the last fight scene from the movie Goon. It's Ross the Boss Ray versus Dougie the Thug Black. Me and this guy do not really know how to play hockey, meaning we are not some cool orators who know how to linguistically put together words to persuade each other. Brittany knew this when she organized this match, in this case, debate. Todd, figuratively, as one of the refs tonight, definitely knew this when he opened up the penalty box by contributing to the creation of this platform and letting people like us on the ice. And finally, if you, the majority of the audience, didn't know already, you know now. When both of us dropped the sticks, took off the gloves, undonned our helmets, and squared up, it was one side stating, I am a Christian American citizen and a patriot who wishes to honor the sacrifices that the men of this nation and primarily that of Jesus Christ. While the other side says, I am a Canadian Marxist communist and stand in antithesis to everything you believe. This is going to get messy tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody's going to get kicked over the rails. I don't know how it's going to go out, but I want to let Dylan know this. At any time after this debate, you can come over to our side and there's forgiveness and there's redemption, sir. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. With that opening statement said, I just want to add that I'm not a Marxist-Leninist, but rather I am a skeptic. I come from a long line of thought that basically states to question the institutions in which we believe in. Things like Christianity and basically all types of religion worldwide have been led to oppress minority groups, whether it's people of African American descent to the LGBT community. Constantly throughout history, these have been used to rationalize and frankly go along with things I find abhorrent and not things I would desire in a perfect society. The way that we downplay the rights of people around us is just unacceptable. I come to you not as a supporter of the Canadian government, which I have many, many disagreements with. The way they're handling the COVID crisis, the way they've been handling the church situations, way they've been doing things like restrict our speech. As someone who knows personally what it's like to be attacked for your beliefs, because I live in a small town in Canada, which is mostly conservative leaning, not as an attack to conservatism, just the individuals themselves who perpetuate things like misrepresentations of me and who I am. I'm well versed in both Canadian and American politics, or at least I'd like to think I am. And I'm ready to talk about what I think and why I think such. The reason I'm doing this is because the ideological marketplace is one of the things that we hold most dear to us in Western civilization. And it's the reason why we're able to sit down and do this tonight, and I would not downplay that. More importantly, however, I do not come as a liberal, but a socialist. People who are often been attacked throughout history and Western culture for representing their ideas and thoughts, more so economically than socially. For example, we see someone like Karl Marx who holds anti-Semitic views. That, of course, is not socially acceptable now. But he was still the perpetuator of socialism. I, of course, hold very different beliefs from that. but people historically for their economics have been discriminated against. And I'm here as a skeptic and from a long line of that school of thought. And that reason is why I'm here to debate my skepticism with you and my stances on economics. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to talk to Pedro. I'm happy we can communicate like this, and I'm happy that we are going to be civil in this arena. Might get messy, but just know that there's no disrespect between me and you, and I wish you all the best during this debate.
You as well, sir.
All right, so I guess we can get into cross-examination. So I guess Pedro, you were up first, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Howdy, American. All right, I'll start the timer right now. All right, sir. So based off your interview on April 14th with Brittany and Todd, 5 minutes, 14 seconds into the program, you stated you subscribe to the general positions and beliefs of the publicly self-proclaimed communist and socialist Vosh, who goes on public record stating that he is up for a proletariat revolution. You also stated that you stood beside Hassan Piker from the Young Turks American News Network, who is famous for stating, and I quote, "America deserved 9/11, dude, F it," on August 21st of 2019, while also praising the Mujahideen and ridiculing the American troops in its entirety, pretty much. Why should I, or you said that in that interview, but during your opening statement, you said you weren't a communist Marxist. Are you abandoning your positions with Vosh now and Hassan Piker?
While I prescribe to them socially on many issues that pertained to things like LGBT rights, race rights, things like that, I'm not a Marxist-Leninist. But thing is there's often a lot of people who hold values that may be similar in some regards, but there's a lot of, again, things that distinguish us. As individuals, we have our own ideas and we have our own opinions on stances and matters. Things like Marxist-Leninism is not something I prescribe to. A proletariat revolution is not something I prescribe to. Any good and meaningful change takes time. And that's my stance on things. We would not overthrow the government. We are not going to, again, commit sedition or anything of that nature. I prescribe to them merely that I am entertained by the content they produce and some of their ideas. As I'm my own individual, I use my logic and my reasoning to come down to the stances that I agree with the most. Again, I am what's a market socialist, so I'm not for the abolition of, the private sector in all regards, things like that. There's a lot of things I think you and I will come to find that we agree on. And this, to me, is important in the discourse. You and I, we're not too different. We're just people. We're the working class people of their own respective countries. We have a lot more in common with each other than we do the uber wealthy, the uber rich, and the uber powerful.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that you abandon those. You only find those kind of statements from them entertaining. That's awesome. If I could just get this next question in, is it true you claimed yourself to be a nihilist in that interview as well? Is it true that one of the core tenets of nihilism is that so long as two parties, whether in the form of individuals or a group, as long as they are consenting in action amongst one another, that the action itself is condoned? Is that a core tenet of nihilism?
I don't know how much I look into that because, again, all arguments themselves are nuanced, right? That's one of the things that's most important about the discourse. So when we get into the rhetoric of morality and things of that nature, when we start talking about things, we can come to establish a more concrete answer on that. Right now, I don't really have the facilities to sit and think about all possible answers to that.
I hear you. I hate to cut you off. I only have 6 minutes in my time for this. I need to run these home.
I just
you said getting into morals. The title of the video tonight is Ethics: The Relationship Between State and Religion. Ethics is just merely a synonym of the word morals. You know that, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Christians believe that ethics are simply distinguishing between actions that are objectively acceptable and unacceptable in large-scale societies among small groups and between individuals. From your worldview as a nihilistic atheist with a naturalistic worldview, is it fair to state that in that light of ethics and morals that you would just say what you think or find pleasing at the time, place, and depending on the group of people, that's how you guys just find your morals at that moment?
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
No.
No? Okay. Can you define that for us?
Okay, well, morals for me come from things like my life experiences and the way they feel. I do not change on a whim. I have my life experiences, I have my ups and my downs, which formulate my thoughts and my opinions on things. And this is why we hold our own respective stances. So I would not go with what is pleasing to me at the time. I have my own convictions. And I subscribe to some of the main tenets of nihilism because I believe personally that a world that is meaningless allows people to have more freedom in that they take themselves outside of any boxes they were to place themselves in. From there, they then choose what actions they do and what affects their life and how their life turns out. And that,
Gotcha. And I only have a minute left, so I appreciate your answers, and I'm not trying to cut you off too much, but what is the difference between saying I defined my morals off my life experiences? What is the difference between that when someone else would say it depends on the time, place, and the particular group of people when you're forming your morals? What's the difference between that? Because they have life experiences as well.
Well, historically, there's a lot of people who have, again, morality is subjective. There's things that people were okay with hundreds of years ago that we're not now, like slavery, for example. I find slavery to be abhorrent, as do, I'm sure, all of you here. But those people thought that they were providing refuge for the people that they were enslaving, which is why my life experiences and the things that I've seen dictate what I think. And again, It does not apply to everyone because I believe in.
I just have only 10 seconds left, sir. I'm sorry. So I got to cut you off there. What I would then ask is, say we have two people on an island. One is a cannibal and one is wants to be eaten. Is it ethical for them to commit to the activity of cannibalism?
Yes, I think it's ethical.
It is ethical.
It is ethical for them to do that if they so please. I mean, again, they do consent to that. And the fact of the matter is, the one wants to clearly end his life if he wants to be eaten. Naturally, I'm assuming this is to his death, to his demise, right? Can I make that assumption?
Yes.
The thing is when someone commits suicide, it's at their own consent and behest. They desire to do such, and I'm not going to stop them from doing such. Because if they sit and think about these things for a long enough time, they can come to their own conclusion using their own rationale. Be it I disagree with it, I still respect the autonomy of the individual. And if those two choose to eat the other person, then that would allow, again, the cannibal, who, while I deem cannibalism unethical for myself and I would not choose to partake in it, I deem cannibalism an appropriate solution to these two's problem. Again, this is a problem that is on an individual level, and both of them want to solve it as the individuals with their own solutions.
I got you. Thank you for your time, Brittany. If you want to switch over to his 6 minutes, or honestly, after this, it's free fire, sir. So you can just start asking me questions for 6 minutes, and then after that 6 minutes, I'll try and butt in.
And really quick, and we are also going to have a Q&A as well. So you guys can send your questions in, tag politically provoked, and who your question is addressed to, and we'll get to that at the end. So go ahead, Dylan, you're up.
Now, there are many things I noticed when I watched your interview initially. I thought it was very interesting. I found you to be very articulate and very well spoken, and I appreciate that in an opponent to debate. I think this creates excellent discourse. But I saw that one of the focal points of your talking in your interview was the fact that you prescribe to the tenets of the Bible almost fundamentally. I don't know what you disagree with in the Bible because, unfortunately, in an interview like that, we can't get into the details as much as we'd like to on, such a time, like a constrained period of time. So I just want to know, are you a fundamentalist, like in its whole, or do you pick and choose what you believe from the Bible?
No, I'm not a fundamentalist. You can say I am I subscribe to Southern Baptist values and some Calvinistic values, even though I haven't really read as much Calvinistic literature as I want to now at this point in time. Mm-hmm. But you can say I believe in the Bible, all of it in its entirety, and the Bible alone. And what that means is I take a normative view of the Bible. So when I read things in the Bible, I can identify prescriptive passages. I can identify descriptive passages. I know when it's talking from the point of view of God, and I know when it's talking from the point of view of man. I see how these weave into each other and how they all correlate into one solid message, which is you need Jesus.
So essentially you extrapolate from that, what you will, you have your own interpretations of the way.
No, I don't have my own intentions. I would say I try my best to. There's something called exegeting the text. When you read the text, you are trying to draw out the author, in this form God's original message to the person. So when do you want an example? I don't want to take up your time. I'll just leave it there. You get another question.
So following that logic, with certain statements in the Bible, like, for example, I'm sure you know the all classic Exodus 21. Do you deem that ethical?
Yes.
Yeah, so you think it's ethical because it's written in the literature, in the scripture, that
May I say why?
People can have slaves.
May I say why?
Be my guest.
Because slavery has always existed throughout the entirety of human civilization. There is not one society that did not participate in slavery. And what you're seeing there is not, when you read that passage, it's not slavery being prescribed. It's saying how the conduct of slavery should be, meaning we can't compare biblical slavery, like, how do I say, the Jews in Egypt to 18th or 19th century slavery in America. Okay. It just doesn't correlate.
Do you mind if I continue from here?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
So that being said, you think that despite the fact that slavery has been done throughout all of civilization, it's still, the Bible is okay with it inherently. It has to be, because in the Bible it states that there is, again, conduct for it. And there's many issues I have with that. The way that it prescribes things like, again, Hebrews being God's chosen people and giving them liberties that people of other ethnic backgrounds would not have. Now, do you not find that morally reprehensible?
It's just not true what you're stating, because if you read the New Testament in Ephesians, specifically chapter 2, you will see where there once was Jews and Gentiles. Those Israelites were the people of God, the Jews, right? And what happens in Christ is both those bodies of people are broken down and they are now made one in Christ. So in this particular moment where me and you are sitting, we are on the other side of the fulfillment of the prophecy. And now we all, Jew or Gentile being any person that's not a Jew, so Black, Hispanic, I don't care if you're some kind of Asiatic, you are now have full access to the covenant of God.
Okay, so still, despite the discourse on slavery and things of that nature, and the fact that we are all communally accepted, what about myself, who doesn't prescribe to those beliefs? So I may not be, again, redeemed. That sounds like God's playing favorites to me. And I don't know if I can deem that acceptable and ethical, ultimately.
Right. Is there a question? Is there a question there? Do you want me to answer that?
Yes. Do you think that, again, do you think that God playing favorites like that is moral?
I think it's unethical, or it makes no sense for a created being, first and foremost, to be looking up at an ultimate being and telling him what to do. What's happening right now, sir, is you have all the access in the world to the covenant of God in Jesus Christ, but you choose to deny him, right? You're making that choice based off of your desires. You don't want God. At any time, like I said at the beginning of this debate, you can switch over sides, and there's nothing but love, forgiveness, and redemption, my friend.
Okay, but what if I want Allah?
What if you want what?
What if I want Allah or Vishnu or XYZ God?
Well, that would be you in your rebellion seeking after a false idol other than who the true God is, because you just don't like the God of the Bible.
Well, what if I like the God?
You don't desire
what about the God of the Quran? Why? They have obviously very compelling arguments. There's a lot.
Which part of the Quran are you talking about? The part where we commit to jihad? Is that the part you're talking about? Which part?
Hey, who knows? That's ethical to some people. But
you would be correct if you're talking. And now we're getting into the free part of the debate. I'm just saying. I'll just say it. In the Covenant of 1988, Hamas formed in Article 7 of it. If you look at it, they have the express purpose of killing Jews. Now, I want to make this very razor sharp clear. I don't even think that's actually in their scripture. I don't think that's actually what they believe.
Not in the scripture. Again, there.
But do you see what's happening there? They are manipulating, because if you know the Quran and some of the Hadiths, they contain the Torah, the God's law, the original book, right?
Right.
So what they've done there is manipulate it beyond its purpose, taken it to a radical means, and said, I'm going to now slaughter, a particular group of people because we deem them infidels, and we get to do what we want with them. But if I can tie this into the relationship between church and state, like the debate is, I would ask you, do you know anything about the Barbary Wars? No? Quick excerpt. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. They're having a problem in their time, 1801 to 1805, where pretty much the pirates from Tripoli are pretty much kidnapping and selling our people into slavery. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson go to London, seek the ambassador for Tripoli, and he says, "Oh, we're allowed to do that because our texts say so." This is where Thomas Jefferson gets a hold of the Quran. He reads it front to cover, cover to back, and he finds out, holy snap, these guys will just kill us for no reason, and declares war. The birth of the American Navy and the Marines are born, and we fought our first war in Tripoli.
Okay, so what if I wanted?
Do you see?
Yes, I understand that. Again,
but do you see? There's another piece of that where Thomas Jefferson explicitly states that no, we do not mandate Christianity in our land.
Right. That's secular. Obviously, your society is secular. I understand that. That's in the Constitution.
Well, that's not really what he meant. See what he meant there, what he was saying is, we never, because of the history of the church and the world, whenever a government tries to mandate religion in the form of...
It ends miserably.
It doesn't even just fail miserably. It goes even further. Right. It tries to doctor sermons.
And again, this is another one of the reasons why I can't prescribe to religion, because it's been extrapolated and manipulated so many times throughout history. We look, and this is another thing, is despite the fact that God was speaking through the prophets, we don't know whether they wanted to manipulate the word of God for their own interests. That's another.
Well, they didn't have the ability to, because we have a free transmission of the text as opposed to a controlled transmission of the text. That goes into textual criticism. Do you know anything about that?
Mildly, but.
Mildly? Okay, so you know what a free transmission of the text is then, right?
Okay.
Perfect.
So,
okay, cool.
But I just wanted to say that we live in a world where things aren't, again, there's no finite proof. We don't have the evidence to suggest that these men were being spoken through God. We do not have the science to back this up. And believe me, I am an atheist. Again, I do not prescribe to any claim other than that I have not seen evidence for God. And I mean, you may be thinking of my, again, system of beliefs as the constant trolls on the internet, the incels you see on Reddit going,
No. I would never do that to you. Okay, I don't do that to any of you.
I hope you don't have a straw man of what I believe, because I am doing my absolute best to not have a straw man of what you believe.
Of course, and I'm not going to we already did the atheist versus theist debate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, we put a fork in that. I'm trying to keep Brittany awake here, so we can't go back into that.
No, I am.
What I would maybe this will circle back for us.
Right.
What is the meaning or usefulness of morals or ethics in the atheistic nihilistic worldview?
What is the meaning of morals or ethics in the nihilistic atheist worldview?
Yeah, what's the usefulness of morals and ethics?
Well,
is it just a smokescreen to philosophically explain something in order to get what you want?
I mean, it could be in some capacity, but a lot of times I find that nihilism allows people a gateway into deciding for themselves, and atheism especially the same, because we do not prescribe to any doctrine. And I believe truly that morality is subjective, because there's things that inherently that we disagree on. Again, if morality were so cut and dry without the nuance of conversation, we would not be able to, again, argue things. For example, I'm just going to make an assumption here. I don't know if this is for sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you are against abortion.
Oh, for sure, brother.
Yeah, like absolutely. I can see why you would take that stance. Again, that's understandable coming from the set of beliefs, the umbrella terms you use to describe your beliefs, right?
Oh yeah.
Things like that. I disagree with that inherently. I mean, I'm pretty far to the left. So like that's the thing. Everything is not cut and dry. Reality in and of itself is not cut and dry. And to say that I confine myself to a box of belief and ideology that is written and taught to me in a way that, again, maybe some of the men of God who are pastors or priests, which we've seen them disobey commandments in the Bible, a lot of it leads to indoctrination into incorrect or just ridiculous behavior. We see a lot of people who, are pedophiles, and they clearly don't adhere to the doctrine. They cannot teach the doctrine. Again,
They don't know what it is. Hey, olive branch time. How about this? What if, right? We as religions in a whole in America have something called tax exempt status, right?
Right.
I believe they abuse this. Not all of them, because some of them do good work, but most of them abuse this in order to implement or bribe, in some radical cases, politicians, or they abuse the money that they've collected from willing actual believers in order to buy them fancy jets and stuff.
Yeah, Kenneth Copeland, we're looking at you.
For sure, for sure. What if I said we Christians would be willing to get rid of our tax exempt status if also you take away Planned Parenthood's tax exempt status and disallow any form of government funding, any federal tax money to go into that organization? Could you meet me halfway there and do that?
Honestly, because we live in a completely capitalist, economy in America, I would understand that if, again, Planned Parenthood were to act as a private business, just like I think the church acts like a private business. So I could agree with that, because I don't think that the government should be funding, again, private organizations like Planned Parenthood or like the Catholic or the church, any churches of any kind.
All right. Man, there might be hope for Dylan yet. He's not that far gone. All right. So how about the? You're not that far gone, because I very much respect. I kind of find it. I love my country. It makes me a little bit angry that you said it's entertaining to watch Vosh and Hassan Piker pretty much.
Well, it's interesting because they're
propagate information that would destroy my country. But I do agree they are entertaining.
They're funny guys.
I can't
get behind someone like Steven Crowder and his horrible conservative comedy. It's just not funny. There are funny conservatives. Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, all the guys on PragerU, horrendous, horrible.
Okay. Well, they can defend themselves. They have a way bigger platform than me. They can defend themselves.
I know.
But how about getting back to the debate? Philosophically speaking, Christians or pretty much any religious people see religion as a practice by which a group of people try and obtain a basis for objective morality, laws of logic, immaterial practices and concepts that will allow them to interact with the world and people in it in a meaningful, effective manner. The curriculum or source of these documents come from some kind of text or oral tradition, pictures. You've seen this, right? What do you think the purpose of the religion is?
Well, I think initially, because we've seen religions that go far back throughout man's history, right? Some that even predate Christianity in terms of their, followings and texts being written. We see societies like the ancient Sumerians who write down, again, stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh and such. Initially, I saw it as a means for people to try and explain away the world and explain how the world was created and established. But just through the way that it's been handled over the last 1,000 years, that it's just taken such an unethical turn. People have manipulated and exploited it. And that's honestly taken a lot of points away from people who are religious. And I don't hold that against them personally, but you cannot convince me of something when your biggest, perpetuators, they just, they abuse the system, and it's completely unethical in my opinion.
Oh man, I wish I had some shawarma. But okay.
Sure, Mike wants me to go to the Quran. Just saying, the shawarma.
Yeah, but so the way you view religion, right? maybe a little twisted, my friend. And here's why. Here's why. We're talking about the relationship between church and state, right?
Yep.
We know Thomas Jefferson's quotes claiming that we do not mandate Christianity, right? Right. And he did that for a good purpose. Do you also think that he did not want men of Christian character in government?
No, absolutely not.
Perfect. You would say he actually promoted people to read the Bible, correct?
Well, as an Enlightenment thinker, I would think he would want to promote people to read all sorts of literature to enhance the way they view the world.
Okay. Well,
I don't disagree with.
I'm just saying because
value.
when
It's
he
not
was,
what I'm saying. You've extrapolated that from my interview, which I understand, because you have again, you believe these things about Bosch and Hassan Piker, and you extrapolated that I almost prescribed to their ideas completely.
Well.
It sounded like it.
I respond to that really quickly, and I'll run it back home. Vosh and Hassan have said those things verbatim online. We can look them up and find them. But the reason why I would think, because you said previously before in your opening statement that you like and you're well versed in American politics, right? And that would require a knowledge of the history. Do you know that Thomas Jefferson, when he was an elected official, actually mandated that the Bible was part of the reading curriculum in schools, in public schools?
I heard that, but I haven't looked into that. Didn't know if it was true or not.
Okay.
Personally, I mean, I understand that it should be used as a tool to educate children on indoctrination and things of that nature, because the way kids are brought into the Bible is mostly through their parents and mostly through, like, how many of these kids have taken the time to read the other scriptures? That's my big issue with religion as a whole, is because it is so easy for people to be indoctrinated into one idea or another. It's all about who gets there first.
Right. So indoctrination. When there is drag queen story hour going on in some public schools, do you think that's indoctrination?
Depending on what they're talking about. If she just goes, oh my, you need to come here and you need to try on this wig right now. Come here, sweetheart. I know you wanna.
Right.
Like, that's indoctrinating. But if they're like, this is my story, this is how I got here, and this is how I formulated my opinions on the world, you don't have to believe them, you don't have to agree with them. I just want you to understand my story. And a lot of indoctrination comes from not that. It's from, the prescriptive statement that this is the one correct thing. This is my, my worldview, or this book is all I need to formulate my worldviews.
Okay. So it's okay in your worldview that drag queen story hour take place in public schools. How about this? Do you know who Scott Wiener? Do you know who Scott Wiener is?
No.
Writer of the article or the bill SB 145?
No.
All right. Because you talked about indoctrination, right? Do you know that in the summary, and I can actually just send it to you after I say this, I just want to hear what you have to say to it. He was trying to, on some levels, condone or lessen the severity of the crime for sexual assault on a minor. Are you aware of that?
Oh, I did hear about this. Sorry, I didn't know the technical term of the bill.
Okay. But you are well versed on American politics.
Do you expect me to remember the name of every piece of legislation introduced? I want you to understand that. Why would I take the time to understand something so trivial, right?
Well, we're talking about culture,
right? It's culture.
You call it trivial when it's pertaining to, we're talking about ethics, a law that would lessen the severity of a crime to an individual who assaulted a minor.
Okay, but you're using this as some kind of gotcha. That's the thing.
No. It's not
like
a
gotcha. You're coming at this with a gotcha perspective, and that's just. I feel like that's unproductive in this discourse. Now, of course, I believe that sexually assaulting minors is abhorrent. The thing is, it's
right.
I wanted to ask you earlier, why is it incorrect for drag queens to go in and talk about their lives? Why shouldn't we want people of all backgrounds coming in to talk about what they believe in our public schools? We should, again, America is a secular country.
Well, no, when I send I'm not going to, by the way, I'm going to homeschool. But if I were to send my child back in the day when I was in school, right, I wasn't there to figure out everybody's personal views. I was there for reading, writing, math, and basic laws of physics,
Again, you don't
workshops,
need
stuff like that.
The thing is we're not
but
looking for
now
everyone's story.
but that goes against what indoctrination is, because I leave it to my father to give me my morals, and not the only reason I don't say, well, never mind. My mother and my father are the ones who are supposed to be instilling values, morals, and purpose of life in me.
Okay.
Not the government.
But what if your mother and father had a completely outlandish worldview?
Well,
wouldn't it make
thank God my father. Well, you don't know my dad's way harsher than me, and he's much more of a he knows what he's doing, man. So he kind of didn't just flippantly choose a woman. He was very cautious when he was trying to actually find a mate. But
it's not just that though. What I'm trying to get at here is, again, as a society, we pick and choose as a collective, for the most part, things we deem are correct. This is how we vote in our representatives and our officials to come up with our legislation. We vote for what we believe is correct. So wouldn't it make sense that when offered a public education, they would try to instill not morals, but maybe a perspective on things that they would want kids to know?
No, I don't. Just like, see, the problem is I don't trust the government, right?
Neither do I.
I purely, if I were to quote it, the only purpose of the government, from Thomas Jefferson's own lips, is that it is to enable the people of a nation to live in it safely and happily. Government exists for the interest of the governed, not for the governors.
Right.
What does he mean when he say that?
So wouldn't it be better for the people? Wouldn't it be better for
the safety is the responsibility of the government, whereas happiness is dictated by those states and the people within them for themselves.
Okay. 1 second, final bite of the shawarma.
Okay, take your time. Get some water if you want, man.
Got the Dr. Pepper here, but I just wanted to add, wouldn't it be better for the children of the society to get mixed perspectives on everything? It might not just be dictated.
I just want that coming from their parents. I do not. If they want to do any of the
again, maybe
personal stories and stuff, you guys can make. See, this is why America's so awesome, because you can still make your worker co-op if you want. You can still make your commune if you want. You can, I talk about public schooling. What I would invest in is forming a group of people in my neighborhood or in my county and say, hey, let's get together. We want to make a curriculum for our children that we think reflects our morals and our values, while also teaching them the basics of math, history, science.
So I understand all of that stuff is necessary.
So we don't want to. You say we're trying to indoctrinate.
I'm not just saying that. You're not
people.
Understanding what I'm saying here. I just haven't had this chance to explain this. Wouldn't it be the best for children to get as many perspectives as possible to make the most informed decisions for themselves? If America is truly the land of the free, wouldn't that be the best ultimate solution? Not just drag queens, LGBT people. What about like doctors, firefighters, all these people? Isn't that what education is all about? Helping people to be educated. We want people to learn. We want people to learn all of the things they can about the way our world functions and the people who live in our world. This will help the children navigate through society more successfully.
Brother, I want to agree with you, but and with other people amongst like who would be looking through my biblical worldview lens or American worldview lens, I could probably agree with them. Primarily because I know they're not going to pull something like Drag Queen Story Hour. That's the whole problem.
Why not Drag Queen?
So I would want to do that. I would want to come to the table with you, but then you bring something weird, and I'm like, oh man, why did I bring my kid here? And now I have to explain this whole oddity going on before thine eyes.
So why is that an issue? Why is that an issue? If someone chooses to dress as a female and comes and explains why they do it.
It's not an issue. It's not an issue at all for us. We just don't want to be a part of it. I don't want my family a part of that.
Be a part of it. The thing is your child would be subject to understanding that person, not being that person.
Well, that's the key. We are forced to do it because what's happening is I'm taxed, right? And I think taxes are a good thing. You're supposed to actually contribute, but then I don't get to choose what's done with my money. And when you're in a public school, and then you pay for this weird stuff to come through, you are forcing me to participate in the whole activity. It is force.
But we're not paying to platform these people. Again, like
Yes, you are,
We're
sir.
not
If they're in a public school, your money, your tax money, it is funneled into that. Yes. Or maybe Canada's different. I don't know. Maybe Canada. How does it go in Canada? How do you fund your schools without tax dollars in Canada?
First off, we fund them with our tax dollars, but people would come and volunteer. Do you know parent teacher, career day, where the parents come in and explain their profession to the children? They all come as volunteers. Like, I don't understand how that's, again, a substantial part of taxes. Right? No, think about this. And I know you think that I am again.
No. I don't think anything, Dylan. This is what I would say I think of you.
Okay.
What's happening? How old are you? I'm 28. How old are you?
I'm 16.
Brittany, what in the world are we doing here? No, but okay. So here's what's happening, Dylan. I think you are being used, and I think and abused because you don't fully understand the history. Huh?
By who?
Well, people like Hassan Piper and Vosh, who will tell you all altruistic things. They'll tell you the Mujahideen is awesome. They'll tell you that communism is successful in other countries.
Okay, but you're telling me the Bible hasn't been a force for good.
I'm telling you that the Bible has been a force for good, and the example that I would put forth is the birth of the United States.
But the United States is just not that effective of a country. People are homeless. They live in poverty.
That's cool, dude. You can go somewhere else. We're not trying to convince you. Mainly in the conversation here, we're not trying to convince you. You can stay Canadian. We're just saying we are a different. We're a different group.
Do you believe in meritocracy? Do you believe in a meritocracy?
A meritocracy?
Yes. Do you believe that people should be in their positions in society based on how hard they work?
Yes. Okay,
so tell me how a country like America truly allows for meritocracy.
Because America, like I said in the beginning, it allows for the Americanism, right? Allows for the truth, right, to come to light without fear of prosecution.
And the truth,
if you look at just the First Amendment alone, if you speak, right, and you have a good idea that was usually shunned in other countries, right? But if you have a good idea here, you have the ability to pursue and invest your resources and ask others freely to help you build the dream.
Okay, yeah, that's
Americanism.
Well, that's not just Americanism, because no one, again, in Canada, we have freedom of expression here.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do. It's in our
You
charter.
jailed one of my brothers in Christ for months. You have my church
for breaking our laws.
You have one of my churches locked up like it's a siege from Mordor and the orcs are coming. You're not allowing my people to worship. Don't talk to me that we have freedom of expression in Canada. I always knew you guys were weird. I always knew it would come down to this, because the moment you guys let go that sex offender, and then you warned the public and said, hey, this guy, he may do it again, but we're still releasing him back into the community. I was like looking at you guys sideways.
We have a representative democracy just like America. We didn't choose. The citizens didn't choose. This is not a direct democracy. We did not choose to unleash him into society.
Okay.
So
how about this, man?
Again,
how about this?
Like America,
communism. Let's ask about this. Do you know what's going on in China right now?
Yeah. I hate China. China, terrible place. Piss on their country. Okay? Horrible place.
Do they subscribe to communism, and do they practice socialism?
No, because that's state capitalism. That is state enforced. The workers' rights are dictated by the state, as opposed to they having their own unions. You're looking at me with this condescending look at the camera. Okay, you're going, oh no.
Well, I'm trying to think through this, because right now I'm reprogramming a microwave. It's telling me that the Chinese Communist Party is practicing actually in reality capitalism.
Okay, well, tell me what's socialist about this. Tell me how the workers have the means of production. I want to understand this. No, because you have.
Well, it probably came about when the it probably came about in some kind of coup.
Ideology, atheism, which does not require the burden of proof, and yet I'm here explaining everything because I have the burden of proof placed on me. This is seemingly a debate tactic. So I want you to explain to me how they're a socialist economy. I want you to explain that to me.
I don't know, bro. I'm American. I don't know, bro. I'm American. I don't want to do anything.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
I don't want to do anything in the manner that the Chinese Communist Party is doing.
Okay, and how is that socialism? How is it socialism? If you don't want to do anything they're doing, how do you understand that that is socialism? How does it follow the definitions of socialism? I want to understand.
I don't know, Dylan. I don't know, Dylan.
That's
I'm just going to try and calm us back down. I don't know.
It's okay to say you don't know.
Right.
I don't know either. That's why I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't know. And until I met with the
you don't know. I'm glad you're honest about it because this is the thing.
The problem is
right. You don't understand Christian thought, right? You don't understand Thomas Jefferson when he says we're not a nation that mandates Christianity, but actually supports the Christian character.
Here.
You don't understand Americanism, and you don't understand American culture. And I'm saying this out of love because, sir, we live in a society now where it's the most important thing to take care of each other's feelings and not to look at someone dead in the eye and say the most loving thing you can before they destroy themselves, which is, you're wrong. I'm sorry, sir. You're wrong about this.
And
these people, Dylan, in every scenario, socialism is a ugly cousin to communism. And at the end of the day, in every history book, they put people like you that they've used in order to get the power they really wanted, in order to just do whatever they want. They put you up against the wall.
That's a metaphor. That's not the site.
Well, I'm trying to say, I was trying to be polite, say they'll shoot you. They're going to shoot you, my friend.
Honestly,
they're going to say, hey, Dylan, sir, we've heard them say, Dylan, I can look at you as an image bearer of God and say, I respect and love you. But when someone on your side of the aisle looks at you, they're going to mention your skin color. They're going to mention your ancestors who you probably don't even know. And then they're going to say, because of those two factors, you're part of the problem, and they're going to put you up against the wall. That's what happens, sir. And this is where I'm saying, Dylan, I'm saying it bluntly.
I know,
now.
and I saw the same thing happen the other day. I was watching this TMZ panel with conservatives, and it had Blair White, and it had what's this chick's name, like some Taylor Witzka or some shit like that. I don't remember.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. It's the crazy
lady. And that put Blair.
Yeah, we can get behind this.
I don't like Blair. I think every one of her ideas are horrible. Piss poor.
What? Whoa! But Blair, see, that's where I would disagree a little. While I don't agree with Blair's more like what she's doing in practice, her morals are that of, I'm not trying to enforce anything on you. You can be yourself, mm-hmm. right? And you get to say what you want to say. He's not putting anything on you. What's wrong with Blair in that aspect?
Her economics are bad. That is all I meant. I disagree with her economics. I don't agree. Like, there's things, again, I don't prescribe to morally when she talks about. These are just the subjective things that we disagree on. My issue is when she sits on that panel and she's subjected to someone verbally harassing her, abusing her for the way she is because she chose to transition. I don't see how that's any different from me being, quote unquote, pushed against the wall. Again, there's people there's just all over the world. Historically, people have been prosecuted by, again, fascist leaders, far right leaders. Like, if my far left is the worst thing, communism, Joseph Stalin, then to the far right, there's like Benito Mussolini and
all bad people.
Again, you're saying that mine's a pipeline down to communism. Okay, yes. But I think
every time, brother, history. Here's the thing, Dylan. I can actually talk to you. I feel like you're reasonable. Here's what happens in some situations of other people that are not reasonable. I talk to you. I asked them for an example of where socialism or communism has been tried to be practiced in history and where it has succeeded, right?
Well, we
They
don't
will
know
ignore
because the CIA hasn't tried to
Soviet
sanction it.
Russia.
CIA
But
hasn't
they
tried to
will
sanction
ignore
it.
but they will ignore Soviet Russia. They will ignore 1940s Germany.
Well,
They will
1940s
ignore
Germany was
they will
not
ignore the
socialist.
Communist
Again,
China
state
Party now.
capitalism. Same thing. State capitalism is what the Chinese government.
They're all so all those nations were capitalists. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah. Economically deemed by historians to be in the middle of the economic aisle. That's a corporate shit show. It is a corporate shit show. Again, if we look at Germany, they invest in corporations like Fanta because they're trying to boost the profits of those businesses. It's capitalism at its finest. But it's, again, all that money is being put into by the government and they commit atrocities. I'm not going to put that on capitalism as a system. I'm going to say that again, those atrocities were committed by governments with reprehensible morals, not economics. It's not because Hitler, National Socialist, it's in the name. Don't you get it, bro? Or no, it's capitalism. It's none of that. It's their morals that dictate it. And thing is, socialism doesn't work because the CIA intervenes every time. Look at Bolivia. They funded the coup, which had what's his name? Evo Morales thrown out of office. There was funding. That's not very American. When you think of the Enlightenment thinkers, when the CIA goes to overthrow a democratic society.
Well, let's pause really quick. Let's just pause really quick. In Americanism, there's capitalism, right? Are you allowed to practice socialism as well?
No.
You're not allowed to start a worker co-op?
That's like one tenet of socialism. It's like
Are you allowed to start a commune?
I mean, there's weird cults that have tried to, but like
no, they do it. They make. I wouldn't call them cults. Some of them are actually pretty good. I've actually, there was a point in time when I was in college that I lived out of my car and I saw a commune and it said you can, for a certain amount of money a month, you'll get this bunk. Now I'll be honest, I looked into it and then when I actually saw the bunk, I was like, I'll sleep in my car.
I don't want to.
But you're allowed to do these things.
I don't believe in a stateless, classless, moneyless society. That's ridiculous. I believe in currency. I think things like that have their place.
Well, I'm not saying you have to abandon currency. I'm just saying
like
you are allowed under our system to practice communism or not communism, socialism.
No, because socialism, again, some of the things that socialism allows people to do is really, truly express like a meritocracy. It gives people who are born into the unfortunate circumstances access to funding. And if we started taking money and diverting it to underprivileged community schools, things like that, we truly have a shot of giving everyone equity. We want people to have a fair shot, don't we? I believe in a meritocracy too, okay? But the way things are being done is just not allowing for an actual meritocracy. And that's the problem. That's why I prescribe to socialism. Because, again, when the workers own the means of production, which is a different thing altogether from having a worker co-op, when the workers have the means of production, those profits come back to them. They seep what they sowed, right? They reap what they sowed. Sorry,
right. Well, I would say this just plainly. Under Americanism, you are allowed to practice capitalism, and in capitalism, you're allowed to practice socialism. And here in America right now, you have the ability to start a commune. You have the ability to start a worker co-op. But the reason why they're probably not as prevalent is because, well, they're just not as successful. And I'll leave that alone. I'm not an economist or I'm not based in finance, but I just I watched a debate with Richard Wolff and Destiny, and
I saw that too. That was, oh my God, I needed to turn up the speed on that one. Oh my God, horrible. To just sit. I mean, it was a good debate.
Well, perfect. We can use that as a basis. Can we say then from that debate you can see where socialism is not as appealing as capitalism?
I can understand that, but personally, I mean, it's just socialism allows for the greatest quality of life for people who are pushed below the poverty line, things like that. If we really give everyone a shot at a meritocracy so people can actually have a chance to climb up in the world, then things would be only left to our understandings and interworkings of our personalities and our relationships with each other. If people are allowed, funding for their schools, then they can actually, and they have a certain amount of money so they don't die. That's what I love about Canada. We have socialized medicine, and there's not even a single payer. Like, we don't have everything covered, but at least I know that I will not die if I get hit by a car. Unless I get hit hard enough.
Are the she's about to say, sorry, go for it, Brittany.
No, you say whatever you were going to say, and then I think we will hop into the Q&A. We're going to do the closing statements after the Q&A because there tends to be a little bit more back and forth when we do the Q&A. So,
Right.
say whatever you wanted to say, and then we'll start doing the Q&A.
Oh man. Oh dang, I think I lost it. But here's what I would say, Dylan. Here's what I say. Here's what I say. Here's what I would say. You're allowed to practice all these things in America. But if we were to have it your way, we wouldn't be able to do it like I wouldn't be able to do capitalism. I wouldn't have the choice to actually teach my own family, my children education, because you would take that choice away from me.
No, you would be allowed to educate you're not understanding economic socialism. You're just.
Maybe so. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But right now, all I know is you're allowed to practice socialism here.
No,
you can do that.
That's incorrect. That is incorrect statement. If we were allowed to practice,
but sir, you say you're not allowed to form a worker co-op.
Is
that true?
Socialism. That is one tenet of socialism. One tenet. There's other things like public housing markets. Again, socialized medicine, education for everyone, which allows people. Again, if you
is there not any? Well, here, I'm not a pure capitalist, right? But okay. I could swear that there are some social structures in America right now that support, public health care, right?
And those are super, again, minimalist, and they don't actually get anything done. Like Obamacare is just lowering premiums, and it doesn't even work. Okay. Things like that. You got to understand, a socialist society
would I be allowed to, if you had socialism, have private healthcare insurance? Would I be able to do that?
You could do a public option, if you want. Like, if there's something you really desire, but generally everything.
Okay, that's a bridge I can build. That's a bridge I can build.
If you wanted a public option, again, I want that option there for people to do so they can pay into it with their taxes. If they don't die, so they can go to the hospital and make sure that they're not dead, so they can get their prescriptions to make sure that they're, again, mentally stable or they're in less pain. These are the things that I want for people. I want to build a bridge because I want us to be able to have the most fair and free society possible. And I understand that under, Americanism, isn't that what your outcome is? That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's fair. And
I just feel like you're allowed to do all these things and you don't know that you can practice these things here.
No, because you can't. Again, you guys don't have a public option yet. Maybe.
Well, I think mainly. What if it's this? What if this is what's going on? What if the fact that
education?
What if it's the fact that even though you have the freedom to do it, it's just not. Nobody wants to do it because they see that it's just not going to work. What if it's not appealing? What if you don't have the stuff?
What if
to
your
back
own elected officials have their own private interests, which is why they've indoctrinated you into thinking things like this? Again, they don't explain both sides in schools, which is what I'm saying. I'm saying if you wanted to pay, again, our taxes should go, because I pay taxes here in Canada. I had a job for a while. I worked as a historian's research assistant. If you were able to pay, again, and actually get things back from the government, like, again, education is the most enlightening thing someone can have, to be knowledgeable. That is what really makes people able to make their own decisions on things. So when I say socialized education, which is, including post-secondary, these are the ways we can get people to actually have the highest, quality of education. And, they can think for themselves truly at that point. When we have free post-secondary education, again, it would be able to be paid for, because once everyone's able to get a good degree or a good education, they'll be able to find a good job. They'll be able to pay back into the economy to give their children the exact same things, right? If our children have the best educations they could possibly get, because the government, again, The government doesn't have to dictate what's taught in the curriculums of these universities. They can teach whatever they want. They would go to funding them or funding just the child's education on itself.
All right. Brittany, this is why I like more structured debates, because I just looked at the title once again on my notes, and it's relationship between church
we've
and
gone
state.
a little off topic.
I don't know where we're off the
went
reservation.
from ethics of religion.
It's all right
back
though.
to-
I mean, it
back to
happens.
economics.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right, so let's get into the Q&A then. Okay.
Questions.
So from Aiden Mahler,
Mahler.
thoughts on drug legalization? I'm guessing discrimination. Okay.
Decriminalization, I'm guessing, but
yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Again, my thoughts on that are that they should be decriminalized. Again, we're giving the autonomy back to the individuals. I personally think that the government, we have legalized marijuana here. So, those taxes that are made off of selling marijuana and people getting, drugs that aren't actually laced, at least as far as I'm aware. I don't know what the government, maybe they're doing some Soylent Green stuff behind my back, but as far as I'm aware, they're not laced. If we have options like that for people, again, we get those taxes to come back into our economy for things like legalization, which is a net positive because it keeps gang activity low, keeps kids from going on the streets and selling these drugs themselves because they don't have to, because they know that they can live in a society where things, again, they won't have to sell drugs because they're able to get access to things like healthcare, education, because these taxes go back into their schooling. Again, this is possible under capitalism, but the thing is in American society, these things would have to be legislated by the government. And this is what I'm saying. When socialism is not legalized, again, it's where you dictate where your taxes go. Some people want to pay less taxes, but unfortunately that kicks so many Americans under the rug, which is why I think things like, again, legalization is probably a good option. Again, people are less likely to die from overdoses if we have the clinics, because they're paid for almost entirely by the sale of drugs, for people to go take their drugs and then be on their merry way. And, they're not going to get punished. They're just going to be treated, because, again, drug addiction is a mental illness. It's not a crime. It shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be punished. It should be treated.
Okay, so Pedro, you want
to? Yeah, I would just say more briefly, I do not want someone's house being raided for weed and then there being a death occurring. But I also don't want because we group these things together. It's all drugs. So somebody's going to say, oh, yay, crack cocaine is legal now. I would just say we need to be a knowledgeable and temperate people who know about these things. Educate yourself, refund the DARE program, and pretty much, know the effects of these things on your body. But yeah, I look at the war on drugs and I cannot say I condone it and think it's a...
Hey, Ronald Reagan was okay with giving crack to these poor neighborhoods, declassified. But the thing is we have those education programs and we'll be able to pay for them if we legalize things like marijuana. Again, alcohol is legalized if we legalize psilocybin mushrooms. The taxes that will come out of that, because obviously in most places those are taxed higher. If people are able to get that taxes back into things like drug education, because we have a program like that here. God damn it, I can't remember what it's called. We have an actual program here. Don't worry about it. It's like DARE. It's basically our equivalent of DARE.
let's start to get
program.
All right, let's get to some more of these questions, because we have a few, and
but that gets drug usage low, right? Ultimately, education and treatment is what's going to keep it low, not criminalize or jailing. Because
let's let Brittany go ahead. Go for it.
We're spending way too much on this question. Okay. He had another one. So some of the questions, because when it's gone too long, I can't get to them, and so some of them they got cut off. But he had another question above. I wrote it down. Was your thoughts on Israel and Palestine? So, Pedro, if you want to go first, let's try to keep it under a minute or two. We don't want to spend
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Brittany. I'm very long-winded. So
no.
Chop it when you want
this time.
Yeah, here we go. So pretty much, Israel definitely has the right to defend itself. Palestine, I can't say I agree. Because how do I,
Now,
when
is that
you
from your religion?
actively promote places and support places like Hamas, or you are found having soldiers being funneled into ISIS and the Mujahideen, you kind of make yourself an enemy of Israel, who are just trying to defend themselves and make a home. And if you look at Hamas's 1988 statement for why they exist, they expressly say in Article 7 of it, we must commit to jihad and hunt Jews. It's undeniable. It's right there in the paperwork.
I just wish they'd shut up and split the Holy Land up into two, because that's all bullshit to me. I really don't. Honestly, it's whatever.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to intervene. That's not something I take a stance in as any type of intervention. Screw that.
Okay, so from K-Fools, can you ask Pedro if he can expand on why nihilism ideology is hypocritical if he thinks it is?
Well, you heard in the beginning, my friend condoned cannibalism, but then he's coming over here to tell us Americans, not even as an American citizen, about ethics. I think those two things are contradicting each other, and therefore that's where the hypocrisy can be seen.
Now, after stating that cannibalism is wrong, I want you to tell me why it's wrong. If two people consent to the act, I want you to tell me why it's wrong. No example.
Well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm
no
Christian,
Bible
and
example.
The simple answer is because they are both image bearers of God. And you can look at Philippians 2 to how we are supposed to conduct ourselves amongst one another.
I know. I want an actual reason on ethics from you. I want why you think it's wrong other than the Bible. Take the Bible out of the equation. Don't base your...
But that's the whole problem, bro. That's the whole problem.
No,
Once you
come
do
up with
that,
your
the
own
rails are
reason
off.
why
You
it's
can
wrong,
get anywhere.
instead of just sipping it right from the Bible.
Well, let me make this comparison. Just how you remember when we had a nice structure, I had it at the beginning, and then for some reason it possessed me to say, then we can go into free discussion. What happened when we had structure is we were addressing matters concerning specifically on the topic of the debate, ethics, relation of the state and the church and stuff like that. We were precisely on that. But then as soon as we went into that free fire, for some reason we ended up talking about communism.
Hey, that discourse.
We started talking about economics. We started talking about socialism. I think it's my fault too. I would say it's my fault too, because I was a part of that conversation. But just like that happens when you abandon the Bible, you get people out here arguing.
Okay, but why was that a problem?
Incest, pedophilia, all this kind of crazy stuff.
Why was that a problem,
though?
Why was that a problem when we let it get free flowing discussion?
That's the law. Well, that's where the law of God comes.
Okay, so what would God say about the fact that our discussion got off of topic?
What?
Again,
why you guys' cameras so high? Like we both of your faces are cut off.
Yeah, no, mine's sitting on top of the monitor. So
here, let me sit up straight.
Okay, but the thing is why is that wrong?
Stick my chest out.
Why is it wrong that we let the conversation go into a different direction?
Well, because you missed the whole point of the title of the video.
Okay, but why is that important?
It's like going into a movie that says action movie, where you see a samurai fight, and then I go in and I see ponies and horses, and it's a chick flick, and it's nothing that I would have done.
Okay, but
and I've already paid my money.
Flick and you go, holy shit, that's Pulp Fiction 2 right there. That is the best film I've ever seen of all time. When the discourse is rich because we let it go where we want it to go, that's not a problem. You would have to explain to me why that chick flick is a problem. You may not like the chick flick, but if it's a well done chick flick, then you can't deny its place.
Well, I think it's a problem because I paid for something and the description is very misleading to what the product I got it was. I got sold snake oil.
Okay, let's go do some more questions, you guys. So from K-Fools to Dylan, ask why communism is superior to fascism.
They're not. They both suck donkey balls. They're terrible ideas. Okay,
there's kids watching, Dylan. Keep it PG.
I am kids. I'm monkey strong.
Exactly.
I don't feel like I'm music.
They're both terrible ideologies. They're both horrible, abhorrent, and morally reprehensible. They don't allow any autonomy to the individual, and I don't think either one's superior or inferior to the other. My problem is fascism is equitable to communism in all of its outcomes. And to state that socialism leads one way, I can equally argue that for capitalism to fascism. Because, again, we've seen that historically.
All right, so I guess he has another question for Dylan.
God,
Is just the socialism is just the government owning the means of production? Ask Dylan why capitalism can't do that when he keeps saying state capitalism.
Again, the government doesn't own the means of production. The people do. State capitalism is an issue because it's, well, again, first off, the government of China is more of an oligarchy than anything. The people are given less power than they should be given there. And that is the issue fundamentally. Because if you ask those people, and this is, again, anecdotal, because we can't take surveys there because they don't have much freedom there. We would ask them what they'd much prefer when they want. If they were to ask what they would want from socialism, which that's clearly not, they would be given the means of production to the actual labor they produce, and they wouldn't be working for pennies for multinational and, corporations. That's just not what socialism is, because I'm coming at this from like a Trotsky perspective, not like a Stalin perspective. I don't want to get all authoritarian. I want the workers to own the means of production because that would ultimately give them the most freedom to do what they want with their time if they're getting paid well and their labor is productive.
Okay. All right, so from Big Poopy Fart Face to both of y'all, could the lack of prevalence of worker co-ops in the economy be related to huge government subsidy paid to traditionally structured corporations?
Pedro, you want to take this one first, or do you want me to go? It's up to you.
I'll take it first. I would say yes, and it's because they look at how worker co-ops operate. And I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna have to lean on my knowledge from the debate that I saw with Richard Wolff and Destiny. And it's the fact that no one wants to invest in something where in any time their money could not be redistributed back to them for the gains that they invested in first and just taken by the people who work there. I'm not saying, once again, that you can't start a worker co-op. I'm just saying it's something that the investor does not want to go for, as opposed to a privately owned business.
We see South American governments all the time that are intervened by the CIA, and that their leaders are, they're demonized by, again, government, the United States government. And the issue with that is that relates directly to this. If the government's not going to give subsidies to worker co-ops and things like that, it is because they are predominantly more likely to be corrupted by these huge corporation owners. That's why, because if they're getting payouts from, which is why we have, again, campaign contributions from all these big corporations. Like I heard President Biden is going to close private prisons. I don't know about that, but that's astonishing to me because Kamala Harris has literally missed private prison, and that's an issue to me. So things like that. Well, again, why this happens? Like,
well, Dylan, I can tell you why that's all happening. It's because what's really happening is that thing you call Joe Biden is really just a puppet, and the woman you stated, that's the real orchestrator. She's operating the strings in the background to do whatever she wants. So
right, and that, again, that's one of my big issues with the way, like, again, I don't have an issue with the fundamentals that you stated you love of Americanism, but the way you go about seeking freedom when people are allowed huge campaign contributions from private corporations with their own interests and not the interests of the people. I agree. The government should govern for their constituents. And the thing is because these big oligarchs who have the capacity to run all these, crazy corporations like Amazon, where they probably fund a lot of these candidates, this is why this is not happening, why government subsidies aren't given to corporations, because they don't want to see a model that would make them any less wealthier than they already are. And that's the issue.
Okay, next question.
So from Riley Pullen, what are both of your ethical takes on veganism? So Pedro, if you want to go first.
Who you want to go first?
I'm an omnivore. I eat anything that will, produce food for me. Or I can put in my smoker in the backyard. I don't think it's wrong to eat meat. I don't think it's wrong to not eat meat. Do what you want. Welcome to America.
All right, Dylan.
Again, I think that I have the utmost respect for vegans because they have supreme self-control over themselves. Because a lot of us, again, we have the freedom to believe that things, again, these living things, if I don't want them to be killed, I mean, like, I don't, but again, I'm weak as a person, and that's why I eat meat. I think vegans are more ethical and stand on a more moral high ground than myself, and I wish I had that level of restraint.
Okay.
Can I ask a question,
Yeah,
Brittany?
go ahead.
Okay, dude. We're on an island. I'm standing next to a cow. We're about to starve to death.
Oh, here we go.
Do you shoot me or the cow? Do you shoot me or the cow?
Cow. I value
Oh,
your
thank
life
God.
more highly. I value your life more highly because again, you have
Oh my God.
you interact with me because I sense your feelings more, you know. But
Okay.
if
I'm glad
coconuts
you
are
assist
there,
the
if
cow.
What if
coconuts
it's
are there,
Hitler or the
if
cow?
coconuts and bananas are there, and there's a cow, and I can avoid killing the cow to eat these coconuts and bananas, then I would, because I think that's, you know, more ethical ultimately, because that's valuing life.
All right, so from Mask Tanovic to Pedro. Okay. Ask Pedro if you think religion and state should be separated. Do you think it should be taught in school? If you think.
In school. Yeah, I would say no, flat out. What I promote is when I see the relationship between the church and the state, it is just men of character, preferably in my case, Christian character, coming to the fold in the government and saying, hey, based on these values, I will start legislating law. But they are not mandating their religion onto other people. They're not checking my pastor's sermons. They're not controlling my religious texts. And they for sure are not like, doing anything weird. We just don't want, we don't want them to be doing that. We just want their morals to be shaped in a Christian nature so that they can operate in the office in a meaningful and ethical manner.
Brittany, can I just interject really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, see, I think me and you are ultimately arguing for different things here. What you have is this level of, well, yeah, I mean, but like, just like you and I, our goals are freedom and we are going about it in a means that we think is the most correct. I personally am less of a socially, like fiscally far left person. I am like people, I support LGBT rights, but I'm not one of those people who's like, all white people are bad. I'm not like that. There's a lot of like radical, that I'm like, again, my economics are my most left wing element to myself. That's what matters to me the most. And I think that, again, people having a benchmark for a quality of life, that's the freedom that they should have. I understand though that you value.
No, friend, my only goal here, if I can state for myself, my only goal here is for you to know who Christ is. That's it.
I know he's got awesome.
After that, you can take off.
Okay. All right. So from Big Poopy Fireface to Pedro, did you feel intimidated by Dylan's display of dominance by eating a shawarma and washing it down with a Dr. Pepper on camera?
Chad,
bro, I was so jealous. I was so jealous because with me, I drink a lot of water, and for this debate, in order not to go to the bathroom in the middle of it, I withheld, and then I didn't eat at all either. So now this man in front of me is eating something so delicious. Did you have hummus with it?
No, I just ate my shawarma. See, I have this Bible here, and I plan on reading it in the future to gain more stance in your opinion. So I will be doing that.
Love it. Hey, bro, if I can tell you to start anywhere, start in Matthew.
Yeah.
That's where I started.
I start in Genesis, right? Because I am a, from front to back kind of guy.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you can start from anywhere. It's all interwoven and within each other. But now I've officially won the debate, ladies and gentlemen, because that was what my goal was. This man has a Bible.
Hey,
he says he's going to read it. He's not a liar. I hope he's not a liar. But now he's on the trade.
I mean,
Brittany, where's your Bible? Let's go.
No, the thing is I saw you sitting there thinking about my claims for socialist economics. That was my goal, ultimately. You sat and thought about them, and I saw that. And that was my goal. Just think about how socialism could give someone freedom, and think about how capitalism can give someone freedom. Think about it further. Also, that shawarma was amazing.
All right, so from Anthony Grammatico to Pedro, do you see our current dilemma with the pandemic as a potential setup for revelations?
No. I just don't see it that way. this kind of thing has happened before throughout history, guys. I mean, there has been governments that always, sometimes more than likely, fail, but try and take power and manipulate their people. It's just another cycle. And then if I had to say, like, when the end times is coming, no one knows that time except the Father in heaven.
Wrong. Jehovah's Witnesses.
So from Srup, ask about the ethics behind the Rome-Gaul Wars.
I mean, that's the day of the sword. What people do is they take their morality and they import it into the past, and they just don't realize that back in the day, it was expand, take land, and pillage and take over stuff. That it was just the day of the sword. It was a time where we don't have the decorum we have now. So it was just a different time.
Okay. From Stacy to Pedro, should your religion, one out of 10,000 religions, determine the laws of America?
Well, what I would do specifically is say I would welcome those 10,000 religions to the public square of debate, right? From there, we will put each of our, doctrines, dogmas, ideologies, ways of thinking, everything up to scrutiny. And then whoever comes out on top of that, which I obviously have faith in the Bible, will actually have the moral ground to say, yes, this is right, and this is what wrong. This is what is wrong, and this is what should come into law.
Okay. So from Not Rogers, what are your thoughts on Obama drone striking Yemen?
Take this one first.
Yeah, go for it.
Again, it's one of the tenets of current day America that I disagree with, is their imperialism, which is known as, again, they're trying to disrupt other governments, and they're trying to ultimately put their ideas on center stage in the world because they are the largest power in the world. And I mean, we see this in lots of countries. We've seen this in Iraq when it wasn't their place to intervene, in Iran and Afghanistan. Personally, I am all about anti-interventionism. Even if those countries are in need of aid, we can send, again, medical resources to them to show that they're our allies, but we should not be involved, and we should not be risking the lives of our people. That's not an issue for our countries. And again, if we stay out of other countries' internal affairs, that is probably the best for all of us. Let other countries govern how they want to govern. Even if, as long as they are not, as long as they let people leave and come and go. So that way, if someone disagrees with that, they can leave. If not, then we might have an issue there. That's
well, short answer is, if you are housing enemies of the state that have organized terrorist strikes on our country, or for the matter of fact, any country in the world, you should expect to get shellacked. And that's what happened to them when they got drone striked.
All right. So from Agent R, should we give prescribed CP to pedophiles?
No.
I agree with that. I mean, something we can agree on.
Dude, we don't. I see. This is where nihilism gets wonky. Just say no. Just say no. Okay? No. You should have said no to the cannibalism thing. I thought that was an easy no. I was trying to give you a handy, but that got weird real fast.
Whoa, sexual immorality. No handies here for me. No, but
let's see.
Child porn bad. Again.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Actually, that was Dr. Pepper you're drinking. Okay, so from Adam Abdu to Dylan, you talked about having respect to vegans. So what are your thoughts on sitting up properly and showing your face on camera?
Well, again,
I don't usually read these before I pull them up. So I really thought it was going to be a legitimate question.
I'm one disrespectful, bad MF.
Okay.
Anti-establishment. I'm a skeptic. I challenge institutions and all sorts of edgy bullshit. Okay? Sitting back in the chair, asserting dominance.
Yeah, Brittany, can I request closing statements? Because I'm going to be honest. I have a family. I have a wife.
Yeah, we'll do this last question, and then we'll do closing statements. All right.
Perfect,
So,
thank
so from Mark Tanavec to Dylan, earlier you mentioned that capitalism does not allow people equal opportunity for the amount of work they put in. How does socialism provide better opportunity?
Okay, so
And let's make it like under a minute, okay?
so basically,
I was
socialism
like, oh my
provides-
goodness.
Okay, so socialism provides better opportunity for work because a lot of what people seek in facilities like factories and management, administration, they want to seek people with certain types of education or degrees. Socialism, if we pay for these educations, everyone will have access to it, which means everyone, again, we're looking for a meritocracy here. The people who want to put in the work and go to those schools, they can actually have the opportunity to get a job regardless of their financial status at birth. That's my big qualm with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, if you guys want to do closing, I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions. The thing was acting up, so I know I missed a lot of your guys' questions. I'm going to do better to make sure to jot them down and so I can get to them. But yeah, so if you guys wanted to do closing statements, try to keep it, under a couple minutes.
Right.
And who wants to go first? Who was going first again? Was it?
Usually the one who went second on their opening statement goes first. But how do you want to do it, Dylan?
It's completely up to you. If you want, I'll take the floor first. If that's the we're gonna respect.
Yeah. Why don't we? Yeah. Why don't you go? Why don't you go first, Dylan?
Yeah.
Ultimately, today I have hopefully accomplished what I set out to accomplish, is to destigmatize capital or socialism to the audience here, people watching. Maybe have Pedro rethink some of his things, just like he's having me rethink some of my ideas. For example, I want to go back and reread the Bible. I want to take a look at it again. I want to be well versed on it because that's important. I may or may not choose to believe it, depending on what I believe at the time of reading it, but I will hopefully seek to understand his ideas better. And ultimately, that's the best thing we can do, is try to understand each other's ideas to the utmost, ability we can. And that's what I came here to do. Hopefully everyone got a better idea for what I believe. And the fact that I am not some horrible commie, who's going to come and shoot up everybody with my guns because they disobeyed the state. They, said something wrong or something. I am just here to perpetuate what I think constitutes freedom and what will provide freedom for everyone. And it was fun debate, and I was happy to talk to Pedro, and I'd like to talk to Pedro again in the future.
Thank you. All right, Pedro.
All right. In lieu of the Constitution, its makeup is that concerning our body politic, the state, its makeup is that of a body of volunteering citizens at this point, and democratically elected officials whose express purpose is to project the sovereignty of the states that make up the U.S. and the will of the people that reside in it. Now, what all us Christians want is to have men of moral character, biblically, to be able to exercise the Constitution and exert the force that it only allots him and not beyond it. Now, thank goodness, I would say that we have an opportunity that Dylan is going to be reading his Bible. Hopefully he gets with a church.
I used to go to church. I thought I'd add that. I frequented a church. I mean, it wasn't a Southern Baptist. I was a United Christian. I'm baptized.
Okay, his closing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't worry, it's cool. I'll just leave you with this, my friend. I said before that I have been apart from God, like some of you out there, and I know exactly what it's like. And let me be more bit descriptive on it. It's standing atop the summit of a great mountain, and the winds tearing about you, finding yourself buried alive, trappless, helpless, and alone. It's knowing what you want to say, but never finding the words. It's a chorus replaced with silence, hearing teachings without meaning. It's like having the energy of youth, then feeling the cloak of years fall upon you, and knowing you are weak, fragile, and a thing easily discarded. It's like a beloved people to whom you have shared everything, given everything, sacrificed everything, and then having them turn on you and forget all you were. But thank God now that I know God, because let me tell you what that's like. It's like a cloud, a mist that drifts from creature to creature, sets in motion the currents of eddies of all life. It is the eye of the storm, the power that puts into existence the passion of all living creatures. It's the rising swell of the end of life, but comes forth with the promise of new territories and new blood. It's the call to the light which reveals and makes sense of all the old and new mysteries in the dark. It is the life, death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You become someone completely different and totally changed. And if you ask any Christian, they will tell you they were not always who they were now. That there is redemption, forgiveness, reconciliation, and family here if you see Christ for who he really is. Now, I told you earlier that what the good Reverend said, so I won't repeat myself. I'll just say this, friends, and to my enemies: if history is circular, sooner or later, guys, usually someone like me something's bad going to happen to me. But I won't say it like that. I'll put it this way: I have no idea how long God has me on this particular mission, and how long he's going to allow me to talk with you guys. So I got to say right now, if you remember anything that I have ever told you, the foundation of it all is within the Bible. It's all there. It'll be there for you. Thank you. I yield back.
All right. Well, yeah. So I would like to thank both of our guests for coming on. I thought it was a good debate. Got a little into a lot of other things, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
and yeah, and so we have a pretty big week coming up, you guys. Tomorrow night we have a very big debate with Big Papa Fascist and Hunter Avalon, and that is at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then Friday night we have our big all-star panel that will include Hunter Avalon, Destiny, Mouthy Infidel, John Talks, Nick Glenn from Echo Base Network, and Wurzelroot. So make sure to check that out. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on cancel culture. The debate tomorrow night is going to be on LGBTQ issues. So yeah, make sure to check that out. And other than that, if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to do that. We are almost at 1,000, so get it there. And good night, guys.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.